Welcome back to the channel. Banks across the globe are all trying to gain some form of control over crypto. You realize that the ones that will stand the test of time are the projects that are fully regulated and ISO 222 compliant. These are the ones that will have a chance of surviving the next bull run. Most of the weaker projects will disappear, lost in the noise, because they simply won't meet the high bar set by regulators or institutions. Institutional-grade companies that have earned trust, built transparency, and passed compliance checks will be the ones to thrive. And that's why I like Zebec Network. Unlike meme tokens or hype-driven projects that only care about quick pumps, Zebec is aiming for ISO 222 compliance and thinking long-term. They are aligning themselves with global financial standards rather than chasing fast, temporary gains. This is what makes them so different from most of the market, and it's the reason I think they are worth paying serious attention to. Now, if you don't know what ISO 222 is, let me explain. It's a new global messaging standard that will completely change how banks communicate with one another. Right now, the financial world is still operating on SWIFT, a system that's decades old and painfully slow. For example, if I wanted to send money from the UK to the US, it would take 3 to 5 days for the transaction to clear, and during that process, both banks would apply huge fees. On top of that, the banks speak different digital languages, which makes international transactions prone to errors and confusion. In finance, confusion isn't just inconvenient, it's extremely expensive. One mistake can lead to massive costs. ISO 222 solves this by ensuring that all banks around the world communicate in the same digital language. The rollout is scheduled for November 2025, and most banks and financial institutions have already agreed to adopt it. This is a big deal, and it's not something that retail investors talk about, but institutions are already preparing for it. So with all that said, remember, this is not financial advice. Everything I've shared here today is purely for educational and entertainment purposes only. I'm just giving you my own perspective based on research, market trends, and the information that's available at the moment. Crypto is one of the most volatile spaces in the entire financial world, and while the opportunities can be massive, so can the risks. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Never invest money you can't afford to lose, and take the time to understand the projects you're putting your hard-earned money into. The market will reward patience, research, and discipline far more than hype or FOMO. The broader market has been red, especially in September, which is almost always a bearish month for crypto. So naturally, Zebec's price action hasn't been exciting. But Zebec is not a meme coin, it's a utility coin. Its growth won't come from retail traders looking for quick dopamine hits. Its growth will come from big institutional money, and institutions only invest after a project proves it can pass serious compliance checks. That's why Zebec has been working on SOC 2, MiCAR, FCA, and ISO 222. These checks are non-negotiable. Institutions don't risk billions on a project unless they are absolutely confident in its compliance and trustworthiness. That's why Zebec's plan to achieve ISO compliance by the end of the year is so crucial. With ISO officially rolling out in late 2025, Zebec will be well ahead of the curve, setting itself up for institutional adoption before most other projects even think about it. Cryptos that are already aligned with ISO 222, Ripple, Stellar, Quant, Hedera, XDC, Chainlink. These are the projects that institutions are paying attention to. They're not flashy, but they are practical and positioned for real-world adoption. Retail might find them boring, but institutions find them necessary. Here's where many people get it wrong. The coins themselves aren't ISO compliant. ISO is a messaging standard. What matters is whether the companies and infrastructures behind those coins are compliant and capable of integrating with banks. That's why Zebec's focus on compliance matters so much. It's not about hype. It's about making sure they can actually sit at the same table as the world's largest financial institutions when the time comes. This brings us to the stablecoin narrative, which is only getting stronger. Zebec is already heavily invested in building stablecoin payroll solutions, and this is no coincidence. Banks and institutions want control over the crypto markets, and that means issuing their own fully backed stablecoins. The U.S. Genius Act has already given them the green light, but only projects that can communicate in the same language as banks, projects that are compliant with ISO 2122, will get to play. This is why Zebec is on the right side of history. They are making sure they can integrate seamlessly with banks when this wave of institutional stablecoin adoption hits. Their recent partnership with AllUnity, backed by Deutsche Bank, is just the beginning. This isn't some small partnership. They are working with one of the biggest names in global finance. And as big as that sounds, it's only scratching the surface of what's possible. One of the clearest examples of Zebec's institutional seriousness is their attendance at the Sibos event in Frankfurt, Germany. For those who don't know, Sibos is Swift's own annual conference where the most powerful names in global banking gather to shape the future of finance. The CEO of Zebec, Simon, has already confirmed their attendance and even hinted at more big partnerships being announced soon. This is massive because it shows Zebec isn't just a bystander, they're actively part of the discussion about the future of finance. And if you look at the exhibitors list for Sibos, it's full of the biggest names in global finance: Amazon Web Services, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, the European Central Bank, HSBC, JP Morgan, MasterCard, NASDAQ, Visa, Lloyds, State Bank of Vietnam, Turkey's Central Bank, and many more. Even ISO-ready projects like HBAR, Chainlink, and Quant are on the list, and right alongside them, you'll find Zebec. If this project was a scam, as some people claim online, why on earth would Swift allow them to be an exhibitor at their own official conference? The answer is simple: they wouldn't. Zebec is legitimate, and institutions know it. This all ties back into compliance again. Financial institutions will not touch a project unless it proves itself. That's why Zebec made the strategic move of acquiring GateKnox, a compliance firm, which now operates as their compliance arm. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It was a smart move to strengthen their roadmap and ensure long-term readiness. Few other projects are making such serious investments into compliance, and that's why Zebec stands out. Now, retail investors are not going to move Zebec's price in a meaningful way. Institutions will. Just look at Ripple XRP. It took years of lawsuits, compliance battles, and institutional partnerships before it really got traction. Retail might complain that it takes too long, but the investors who do their homework and stay patient are the ones who get rewarded. This is a long-term game. Think back to the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. Everyone panicked. People thought XRP was finished when Coinbase and Binance delisted it. But even with all that suppression, XRP still pumped to $1.50 during the 2021 bull run. Why? Because when the broader market turns bullish, the strong projects rise regardless of temporary roadblocks. Zebec doesn't necessarily need Binance or Coinbase to pump. Once liquidity returns to the market and interest rates are cut, the whole space will pump, and compliant projects will lead the way. This next bull run is not going to be about memes. It's going to be about utility. Out of the 20 million crypto projects that exist today, only a handful will actually survive, and the ones that do will be the ones that are regulated, compliant, and institutionally backed. Zebec is preparing to be one of them. Even Simon, Zebec's CEO, has been clear about this in his interviews and spaces. He says compliance is all about trust. As Zebec handles larger transaction volumes and brings in more institutional partners, standards like SOC2 and ISO 222 become critical. Their partnerships with Assure in the US and AllUnity in the EU wouldn't have been possible without compliance. And with more partnerships on the way, compliance remains the backbone of their strategy. This aligns perfectly with the broader shift in regulation. For years, crypto was a gray area with no clear rules. Institutions stayed away, but with the Genius Act and other regulations, clarity is emerging, and institutions are stepping in. They are especially interested in stablecoins because stablecoins are essentially digital cash, fully backed, fully reserved, instantly transferable across borders. No more 3 to 5 day waiting periods, no more excessive fees. Stablecoins solve the inefficiencies of traditional finance, and Zebec is building the rails to make that possible on a global scale. A merger between traditional finance and blockchain is happening. It's slow, but it's steady. Compliance will determine who survives that transition. Zebec is not chasing hype or retail pumps. They are focusing on compliance, regulation, and institutional adoption. And when the market turns bullish again, it won't be the meme coins that lead. It will be the projects that built real utility and passed every compliance check. Zebec is making sure it will be one of them. And that's why I believe it deserves attention now, even while the price looks quiet. Because when institutions finally make their move, the groundwork Zebec is laying today will pay off in ways most retail investors can't even imagine. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to keep getting deep dives like this on Zebec, ISO 222, and the broader crypto space, then make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts or questions, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support means a lot and helps this channel reach more people who are trying to navigate the crypto world with clarity instead of confusion. Don't forget to also hit the notification bell so you never miss an update, because in this space, one piece of news can change the entire market narrative overnight. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.